Go. All right. So welcome to the CAD workshop for AI racers. My name is Axama Rene. Israel wanted me to help you guys out. And he also let me know he couldn't be here. But feel free to follow along in SolidWorks. But so we're basically gonna be making something like this. This is like the platform deck. Um, it might look crazy with all the holes, but if you really just look at it, it's just like a basic part, and then you like do a couple of stuff, and we add some holes and cuts. I am gonna be following a drawing. You guys will see me jump back and forth between this. All of this was supplied to me. I did not make this, but I'm gonna be using this to like reference the different values and whatnot. But before I get started, who in here has used any type of CAD before? Okay. All right. All right. So I'll kind of take it slow. Do you guys want me to do like a brief, I don't know, like intro to SolidWorks, or do you want me to just jump in? Because I can kind of like teach as I go. Jump in. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So yeah, when you have SolidWorks open, you'll usually have like a pop-up window, but I already had SolidWorks open, so I'm gonna go over here to this new tab. When you open SolidWorks, this is what you'll see. Part, assembly, or drawing. Drawing is what I just showed you earlier. That's where you can make documents like these. Assembly is where you can make multiple parts, put multiple parts together. And then part, we're gonna double click that. That is where you make an object, a body, whatever you want to call it, and then you go from there in your 3D workspace. So first things first, looking at this drawing document, right here it says dimensions are in millimeters right there. So just to make sure that when I'm making this, everything is correct, the correct scale or whatnot, in the bottom right here where you see custom, or if you're in a earlier version of SolidWorks like 2022 or 23, I think it'll probably be in inches. But if you click that, we're gonna change that to mmgs. That's gonna put us in millimeter gram in second, and that's what we want for this part. Another thing, if I look at the drawing, I also see that they're saying the material is acrylic. This isn't important in this case, but we can go ahead over here on the left side. And I have material here, but if it's your first time opening SolidWorks, you're probably not gonna have that there or equations. So if you want material and equations to pop up on the left side of your workspace so you can easily like change it or whatnot, in this white space over here, you're gonna right click and you're gonna go to hide/show tree items. And then you'll have this screen pop up, and then right here, you'll see equations and material. So I think it's probably on automatic. You wanna change it to show for both of these. And then if you hit okay, you'll be able to have that on the side there. Welcome in. All right. And then like I was saying earlier in that document, it said the material is acrylic. You don't have to change this. I'm not sure if you guys are going to be 3D printing the platform or whatnot. But yeah, I'm just gonna select the first option here, acrylic. I'm going to apply that. So you click it, apply, and then you close. And then yeah, we'll go from there. So quickly now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just look at the drawing document again and kind of get an idea of like, okay, where do I want to start? So I'm basically just making a plate, like a platform. So if we think about that, that's not like too complex. So jumping back into SolidWorks now, we have features, sketch tab, and whatnot. We're gonna be working in the sketch tab because what you wanna do is you wanna sketch your 2D surface or quote unquote object, and then you're going to extrude that into a 3D object. So from the sketch tab, I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna click sketch, and then you're gonna see multiple planes you can sketch on. So for this part, we can sketch on the front plane, the right plane, or the top plane. I'm gonna do the top plane because when I think about the platform, how I'm gonna be using it is it's gonna be like this. I have my holes, and then that's gonna be like on top of my car. So we'll start from there. And then there's many different ways you can do this. And then once again, you're gonna see me open this multiple times just so I can like reference it. It looks kind of crazy, but honestly not that bad. If I kind of look at the plate here, you can see how it's somewhat symmetrical. There are holes that are not necessarily mirrored across the part. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm going to show you guys a tool you can use in SolidWorks to kind of like save you time. Instead of sketching this whole part out, what we're going to actually do is we're going to sketch half of it and then we're going to mirror across a line just to save time. So first thing I'm going to do is in my sketch tab, I have multiple tools here. I can sketch a line or whatnot. So here with the line, I'm going to click the drop down and then I'm going to go to center line. When I click center line here, I'm going to follow my origin. Right here, I'm just going to draw a line across the middle. Doesn't matter how long that is. Later, we're going to be using that. Like I said, we're going to mirror across that line just to save time when making this part. All right, so for this part here, we'll see we have some straight lines, some curves and whatnot. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sketch an approximate, I'm going to make an approximate sketch of what we want, and then we're going to add our dimensions. So it doesn't have to be spot on immediately. You can make an approximate sketch and then tweak it along the way to get what you want. All right. So now I have to think, okay, I'm working in the middle of my part. So I'm going to access my line tool here. And then I'm going to come to my center line and then I'm going to click to make sure it's coincided with the center line. And then I'm going to come up a little bit and then just look at my dock one more time. You can see over here, we're going to go up at a slant and then up those curves we'll add in later. There's a fillet tool within the software that you can easily use to add those curves. So up, slanted, up, and then to the right. All right, so up, we go to slant, and we go up again, and then we come over some to the right. And reference this one more time. And then we have a curve there, and then we have another slant. You can't really see it. No, you can. It's kind of, that's a curve right there, and then we have a slant curve there. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna go like this. We're just gonna make the slant because we can add the curve in later. And then another curve, and then we go down like so. And then that's our approximate sketch. Like I said, it doesn't have to be spot on immediately. And then once again, I am making half of this. And then later we're gonna add we'll add the cutout for the rectangular portion here and the square portion and then all the holes. So now just to backtrack here, let me look at my dimensions real quick. All right, so first things first, at the bottom of this part, it's telling me the entire length of my part is 310. And once again, that's in millimeters. The document tells me in millimeters, that's what we want. So from the left to right, I know my length. So now in the sketch tab, where you can also make lines, circles, rectangles, or whatnot, to the left of that, you'll see the tool called Smart Dimension. It'll show you a quick animation of what it can do. That's literally just how you dimension what you're working with. So I click that, and then I want to dimension from this side to this side. So I click this line, I click this line, that's the dimension I want, and then I'm going to edit it. I want that to be 310. And there we go, now that's set. And I'll go back here to the left of my part. I'm told the entire height of this platform deck or plate is 145 millimeters. So now I can go back, and then once again, let's remember, we're working with half of the plate right now because we're gonna mirror it over. So using the Smart Dimension tool again, I'm gonna click from this point to the top here, bless you. And then I'm gonna dimension that. So you don't have to do the math. You don't have to say, oh, what's 145 divided by 2? You can literally type it into the software. So I want half of that, 145/2. I hit enter, it does it for you. And yes, we see that this line jumps down, but we'll be fixing that as we go. So since this is undefined right now, yeah, if anything is blue, that means it is underdefined. When you're working with your parts, you want everything to be solid and black just to know there will be no issues when you extrude, but we'll be getting to that. do that so that's more visible. Boom, boom, boom. All right. And we'll go back here. All right. So there's multiple ways to do this, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make the solid body, and then we'll go back in and make the cut. So once again, just gonna keep adding dimensions here. All right. All right. So I'm told that up there. They give me the dimension for the cutout, but they don't give me the dimension for that. All right, so what I'm gonna do, when I saw this drawing, there was a lot of like missing information, but usually when you make drawings, they're gonna be detailed, and that's one thing you wanna check over and over, that there's not missing dimensions. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to open the part real quick that I have, and I'm just gonna kinda steal some information from here. So yeah. All right, so now I'm gonna like kind of just sketch this out, because as you can see, I'm not told that dimension right there. I didn't know that that's 35, and I didn't know this is 42. If I go back to the drawing, I'm given information for the cutout, but if I go back down here, let me zoom in, I'm not given information there. So that's that. But all right, now we know that that side has a height of 42, and then that side has a height of 35. So back out of this, we're gonna go back over here, and then once again, I'm working with half of my part. So I'm gonna dimension this line. You can either click the 2 points, or you can click the vertical line. Vertical line's easier. I believe we said this is 42, working with half the part, sorry. So this is 42 divided by 2. And then over here, we said this was 35, half the part, 35 divided by 2. And then that is that. I'm gonna backtrack here. So go back to our part that has more information on the cutout. As you can see, for the curves, I'm given the radius. Like that curve is 20, this one is 75, and whatnot. Let's backtrack over here. So first I'll deal with this side of the part. I'm told that the distance from this point to this point is 24.5, and then the height of that slant is 30.5. See, I should be able to leave that open. Yep, okay, cool. So we're working with that line. That's the line we want to edit. All right. So from this point to this point, I want the horizontal distance to be 24.25. And then double check real quick. The height of this line, that is going to be 30.5. And then just a quick thing, when you're working with parts, it's nice to keep your dimensions outside of your sketch, just to keep everything clean, instead of having it all cluttered inside like this. Just keep it away from what you are constructing. All right. And then go back here. All right. So now I know the length that that top line needs to be. I'm told that's 184. So we're gonna dimension this to be 184. So smart dimension tool, I click the line, and I enter 184. Boom. That's that. And then I'll show you guys the tool I was talking about real quick that we can use to get this, let's see, where is it? It's better to go to the drawing here now. That's fine. Let me just quickly do this. 1 second. Move this line. This is just called like the rollback line. If you ever are working in your part and you want to see what happens when you take something away, or you want to go back to solve an issue, you can just move that. That's all that is. And because this drawing is referencing that part, it was just throwing an error. So using this, I'm just gonna check the radius of these fillets, those curves I have. So like here, it's telling me that's an R of 8. And then over here, just like the document said, that's 20. And then I know that is 15. And then this curve down here is 8. All right. So up here in my same sketch tab area to the right of Smart Dimension, there's this tool right here, Sketch Fillet. There's also a tool in here called chamfer. That just makes like an angled straight line instead of like this curve we're gonna be working with. But we're gonna click on that, and then you kind of see it kind of shows you the preview of what you're gonna get there when you click that point. So if I click that point, this is currently set to 10, but I want that to be 8. So I'm gonna put 8 in that box, not that. And then I hit the check mark, and then it'll go ahead and make that curve for me right there, and then it's dimensioned. Boom. All right, and now let's go back here. That's the outline. All right, go back into sketch, and then let's work with these curves here. All right, now we have our arc. Okay, cool. All right, so we might have to slightly change this a little bit, but no biggie. What I'm currently gonna do is I'm gonna take a 3-point arc. Actually, let's see. Take a look at this one more time. Okay, simple enough. All right. So real quick, I'm going to get rid of this line, and then I'm gonna use some arcs just to get those curves that we have going on there. So first things first, just to double check myself here, I'm gonna reference this. We have a curve, and then, actually no, it's curve, straight line, curve. All right, cool. So when you have a line selected, you'll see that it's either orange or blue like it was earlier. When you have it highlighted like that, you can literally just hit the delete button, or in this section here, let me hit Control Z. To the right of all those tools we're using, there's something called Trim Entities. If you click that, you can click and drag over what you made and just get rid of it there. But now I'm going to use a tangent arc right here. This is just gonna help the line automatically be tangent when it's connected to the points I'm constructing. So right under the circle, click the drop down, tangent arc, click on that line, and I'm gonna just curve that a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and dimension that to the radius of 20 that we saw in the document, like so. And then if I remember correctly, we go from a curve to a straight line to another curve to a line. All right. So now for the next curve, I'm gonna take another tangent arc. You can see here in this document, some of the relations there are actually tangent. So let's go back here. First, we gotta get our line. Move this down a little bit. And then we're gonna take a tangent arc. Let's see, all right. And then there we go. Just gonna draw that. And then the dimension for that was 75. So I'm gonna change that to 75 there. I go back, reference that. Those two lines are gonna be tangent. So that curve is connected to the straight line. Go back to the document here. I have this gap. All I'm gonna do is I can drag this point to that line like so. But as you can see, there's no tangent relation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click this curve, holding the control button. I'm gonna click this line, and then over to the left, it says add relations. So I want the tangent relation. So I'm gonna select that, and then we're gonna hit the check mark. And now that curve is tangent to that, and that's tangent to that. And then I'm gonna double check. I want this guy to also be tangent to this line as well. There we go. All right, so this curve is tangent to that line, that's tangent to that. And then this is tangent to that, that's tangent to that. All right, cool. And then as we can see, part of our document is still blue. So let's see here. Everything is mostly defined. Double check this sketch real quick, see if we're missing anything. So I'm told over here more information about that slant. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that information in 33.6 and 11. So for this line here, the height from this point to this point. I'm told that is 11. And then the horizontal distance from this point to this point is 33.6. I'm just gonna move that up here. All right. And then before I continue, any questions about anything? You guys want me to slow my pace? Anything? No? All good? All right, cool. All right. So that's 11, that's 33.6. Let me just do a quick test here. All right. Okay. All right. So when your part's undefined, you can actually click on the parts of it that are blue and kind of move it around to give you an idea of what's like restricting it. So right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to align this point. I'm gonna make it coincide with my origin right here. So I could do it to the left or right side. I take the left side here, boom, make that coincident. And then as we can see now, everything's solid just because it's like related to the origin. That's just like a thing in SolidWorks. But yeah, pretty much that is defined. So I'm gonna look at the part. Okay, yeah, I forgot to do that. This is still on rollback. All right. Let's double check that everything is pretty much the same. Yeah, we're good there. Okay, cool. And then I added that fillet. The other fillets we can actually add outside of the sketch. You don't have to do it all in the sketch. But let me show you guys the tool I was talking about. So we made half of the plate, but we want a whole plate. So let's go ahead and mirror that. We're gonna go over here to, we're still in the sketch tab. To the right of Smart Dimension, all the tools we have, and the Trim Entities tool. You go to the right, you'll see Mirror Entities. We're gonna click that. So it's gonna ask you, what do you want to mirror? And then what do you wanna mirror that about? So that center line we made is what we wanna mirror it about, because all we're doing is we're taking a part and we're gonna flip it over that line. So while I have the mirror about tab selected, I'm gonna select that center line, go back to the entities to mirror, and then, let me see. Oh yeah, because it's not solid, I can't do that. So here, we're gonna click everything we wanna mirror. Like so. And then it'll show you a yellow outline of what it will look like. And then I hit my check mark. And now I don't have to worry about dimensioning that whole other side or whatnot. And that's one way you can do this. You could have just made a big rectangle and shaped it to what you want it to look like, or you could have sketched the entire approximate body and then dimension it, but I just wanted to show you guys some of the tools you can use. All right, and then, let me see, I'm gonna test it. I think we have to, okay, all right, so we can leave the center line, cool. Just need to double check that. And then how I get that to pop up right there so I can access different faces. If you hit space, you should get this cube to pop up. If you don't and you just have this orientation box popping up, if you select this view selector, you'll get that. And then you can look at different faces or whatnot. But let's just get back in that sketch. And then, yeah, let's see if the document at least tells me the width of the plate. So if not, I'll just check that. Alright. Yeah, it's definitely not on there. Cool. Doesn't have to be spot on, but just because I feel like I don't want to check. So this is only 6.35 millimeters thick. So now we're gonna take our part from 2D and go to 3D. So to the left of the sketch tab, there is a tab called Features. If you select that, you'll see extruded boss base or evolved boss base, swipe, all these different things. Extrude just means create. So we're just gonna take it from 2D, make it 3D. Revolved, that's how you get like spherical shapes or whatnot. you're gonna revolve around a line or axis as they show you in the animation right there. But this is what we want, extruded boss base. So we select that, and then the contour, because it's a closed body, is automatically selected for me. But if there's ever a specific thing that you want to extrude or cut, which we'll actually work with a little later, down here, if you go to the selected contours, you can actually like select. So if I wanted to extrude half of this by 5 and then the other by 10, I can select the individual parts. But we want this whole thing. So boom, entire thing is selected, and then the width was 6.35, so we'll just keep it the same. Width, depth, whatever you want to call it. And then right there, that's that. Blind, that literally just means like, hey, I'm making it in this direction. If I wanted it to go to another surface, or if I wanted to offset it from, let's say I wanted to offset this from the top plane by, I don't know, actually, you would have to go from here and select offset. Yeah, that's what you have to do instead of, yeah. Anyway, not important. Blind is what we're gonna be working with, and then we want this to be 6.35. And then you hit your check mark, and then you'll have your solid body right there, like that. I'm gonna change this material just because it looks like it's looking see-through. Okay, cool. All right, there we go. All right, that material, that's not important, but there we go. That is the approximate body of what we're going for our plate. Now, just to backtrack, we do have these different curves and whatnot that we see on the part here that I did not do in the sketch. You can do it in the sketch, but you can also do it outside the sketch. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna go over here, go back, actually, let's just go straight into the original drawing. This is easier to work with. Smart dimension, that radius right there is 15. I know this one is 8, so this one is also 8. This is 15. This is 8, just like the top one's 8. And then on this side we also have 8. So we have 8, 8. One inside is 15. Outer one's 8. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna go back here, and now we're just gonna make our sharp edges smoother. So in this corner here, and in this corner here, I want that to be 15 millimeters. So I'm in the features tab now. I'm not in the sketch tab. I'm in the features tab. Gonna go over to the right, and then above this solid cam box, you'll see the tool fillet. So it'll once again show you an animation of what you can do with it. We're gonna click that. And now fillet type. If I hover over this, it should tell me what each one is. Yeah, content size, that's what we're working with. You're usually gonna work with the, first type of fillet. One thing you wanna have on is full preview. So when you select a corner, you can actually see what it's gonna do. If you have partial preview, it kind of works the same, but I'd say just use full and then no preview. Doesn't show you anything, of course, but that's one edge we want to work with. And then we also want to work with this edge, so we can select both of them at once. And then down here, yes, we want it to be symmetric. We want it to be a smooth fillet. It doesn't need to be curved any other type of way. And then what do I want the radius to be? That should be 15. So in that box, I'm gonna enter 15. And then once we make that, we get our check mark. And now that corner there is nice and smooth. So now I need to make this 8, and then same thing on this side, this 8, and this 8. And then let me go ahead and save this part really quickly just in case. Drop it right here. All right, so same thing again, features tab, go over to fillet, And then I want this to be 8, this to be 8. Go over here, this to be 8, and this to be 8. So right now it's set to 15, so it looks bigger. Change that to 8. That's what I want. So again, all I'm doing here is I'm hitting space just to reorient the part real quick, and then check mark. So now everything is smooth. I don't have any sharp, crazy edges. So when I actually make this part, get it 3D printed or manufactured, whatever you want to do, you won't injure yourself. I guess that's one good thing to add in curves. So there we go. And now if we go back to the drawing, the next biggest thing we have is we're going to make these different holes, these cutouts and whatnot, and then we'll go from there. So once again, you can see this part has something common on each side. We have that rectangular cutout on each side. So once again, the same way I created a body or sketch and mirrored it, I can create another sketch and cut it and mirror the cut. So we'll be doing that. All right. So yeah. So in this original file that I was given, everything is like named. So that's something you can do. Like you can label which screws are for what. That'll definitely come in handy for you guys for the project. So if that is one thing you want to do when you're making your CAD, feel free to do so. Most of the time when I'm CADing, I don't name my bodies, cuts, or whatnot, but I should probably start doing that. But anyway, let's get in here. So I'm gonna go to the sketch tab. I'm gonna select sketch, and then I'm gonna be working on that face right there. So I'm gonna click that. It's highlighted, orange outline, so like that. And now we're gonna work on that. All right, so in this drawing, I have some detail views here I'll be using to figure out where everything is at. Let's see, so the square is there. I think it's best if we start with the rectangles here in this case. That'll be our best bet because we're given the dimension there. We know how long it is and we know how tall it is. So we're gonna start with those and then we'll cut those. So, all right. And then I'm going to make the assumption that, that curve is definitely different. Let me see, am I given that information? So I'm told the length and I'm told the height of that cutout, but I'm not given the radius of that curve right there. So same thing I did last time. I'm just gonna go in here and get that information real quick. What is it? Or is this just a slot? Let's see. All right, radius of 2 millimeters. Cool. Get out of there. Go back in here. Sketch. And then what I'm gonna do is just grab a rectangle tool. You don't have to make 4 lines. You literally just come in here, rectangle. You can do a center rectangle. I'm actually gonna take the corner one though. I'm gonna grab that, and then I'm sketching on this part. So I'm just gonna drop that there. And then we're gonna dimension it. Back to the drawing, I'm told that has a length of 182.69. Take my smart dimension tool. So like that. That is 182.69. And then the height of that is 13. And that's that. And then I need to know where is this located with respect to everything else. So once again, with this drawing, I am not given that information. I do not know how far away this is from that portion, and then this is from that side. So back into the part. Wire slots, edit that out. As you can see right here, from this side to this line, we have a dimension of 8. And then from this top line to this line, we have a dimension of 11. And then same thing from this side, we also have from this line to this line a gap of 8. So on the left and right we have 8 millimeters, and on the top we have 11. So now we can actually figure out where we want this guy to be. So Smart Dimension tool is still selected. Select this top line, this line, and we want that to be 11. And then from this line to this line, we want this to be 8. And then quick thing, when you guys are doing your CAD, I guess for your project, as you go, you'll probably be figuring out where you want everything on the plate, unless you already have like the plate made or whatnot. So most of the time, you might be the one actually like figuring out, okay, hey, this is where I want this is where I want this. So when you're sketching, you can just mess around and take your time and figure it out depending on if you have the actual like components. You can figure out the dimensions and then use that to figure out how you want to make the actual platform. But anyway, distance here from here to here. All right, hold on. Should be, see, where did it go from? It makes sense if it went to the point. All right, let's go into that line there. So now one more time. All right, Smart Dimension from here to here. Yeah, it's giving me an angle. Okay, cool. So we'll go from here to this point. That's interesting. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this line and then I'm going to convert entities real quick just so I don't get that angle thing popping up again. It shouldn't. Okay, it still is cool. Alright, what about from here to here? Yeah, that makes sense. Because all this is already fully defined. So realistically, because this is 11 and this is 8, this should already be 8. Kind of confused on what this dimension is actually touching. But anyway, this right here is fully defined, so it's where I want it to. If I wanted to say push this over to the right or whatnot, I could change this to 10 and go from there and work with that. That's that. We're gonna keep that 8. And then while I'm in the sketch, I'm just gonna go ahead and knock the curves or fillets on there. So back to that sketch fillet in the sketch tab. Underneath the circles or whatnot, we have that fillet tool. Select that. I select the corners. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to 2 because if I were to come select this corner, it would not let me. Change that to 2. Hit enter, and then select each corner. And I'm gonna hit check mark there, and now I have my curved section of the wire slots there. And then I don't want to draw that out again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a center line, draw that across the origin through the middle of my part, like so. And then I'm gonna take mirror entities tool that we used earlier again. And then because now this is a solid sketch compared to what we did earlier, we had lines in the center line, so that didn't count as a closed sketch. Now this is closed. I don't have to click each individual line. I can just click that. All the lines are there for me now, and then I want to mirror about this line. And then I hit check mark. And then it makes sense that this cutout is going to be through the part because this is for your wire slots or whatever, so you want that to go through. So I'm going to head over to features, and instead of extruding a boss base or creating, I'm going to cut away from my part. So to the right, I'm going to use extruded cut. And then it automatically selects the closed bodies or closed sketches here. So if we ever needed to change it, we can select the actual closed sketches there. And then since I'm going all the way through the part now, I don't need to remember, hey, how deep is the part I made? I can go right over here to direction and I can select through all. If you want to play it safe, you can select through all both and it'll cut everything on both sides. And then check mark there, and then we have our wire slots. And then that's that. All right, and then next thing we're gonna do is, I keep forgetting to change that. We're gonna find the correct position for the let's see, what is it called? You have your power board. This is another wire slot here, so we'll be getting the dimensions for that as well. So simple enough right there. This dimension is based off of that hole, so it makes sense to backtrack and make those first, or what I could do is easier on myself. Let me just see how far this side is from here. 14.44. Okay, cool. Instead of 8 like that. Alright, so 16 from here. So that's going to be the same. And then from here to here. Alright, cool. Could even check this. Alright, so from this side to here, I know it's 14.44. So I'm going to take those two dimensions and then I'm going to work around like that. And then each of these curves have a radius of 5. And then if I go back here, I have the information I need for the height of that wire slot cutout is 65 millimeters, and then I have a width down here of 70. So back to my part, I'm gonna sketch here. I don't need to know right now where it's gonna be, but I'm gonna take another corner rectangle and I'm gonna drop that here, and then we're gonna dimension that. And we'll get it positioned with dimensions here shortly. Let me just go ahead and move that over a little bit. Alright, so smart dimension. I know the distance from here to here, excuse me, was 16 millimeters, and then we're gonna double check that. Yep. Alright, and then since I don't have those circles sketched yet, I'm not gonna be able to make that 8 dimension, which is why I checked what the distance from here to here was, and that was 14.44. Add that on there, and then I know from this drawing the height of that cutout is 65, and then the length is 70. So go back here, I'm gonna make our bottom here 70 millimeters, and then a height of 65. Alright, and once again, it's all solid black. It tells me down here that it is fully defined, so I know we're good. And then the last thing I want to do is add the fillets of radius 5 on each side. So let's go do that. So once again, same thing. You're using the same tools over and over. Nothing too crazy. I'm gonna go back to fillet, sketch fillet, and then we're gonna click here, we're gonna click here, we're gonna click here, we're gonna click here. Change that to 5, and then boom. And then that's that. And I go over here to features, extruded cut. Same thing I did it like last time through all boat. Hit the check mark, contour is already selected. That's another cutout done. Alright, so now we're getting to the fun part where we have to make all these holes. Alright, so I think it's best here if I work around this right here. So the wire cutout I just made, I'm gonna make the holes around that, and then we'll keep working. We have a good amount of holes to make, but I should be able to take advantage of the mirror tool again, so we're gonna try that here. Because if we look closely here at the wire slot, if I were to put a line down the middle, I'll see that the holes are symmetric. So that can save me time instead of making 6 holes. So I'm gonna make half of these and then we'll mirror it over. All right, so let's do that. So everything, so these holes on the top, I'm told that is 3.3 diameter. That's what this symbol means. 3.3 diameter, and then through just means it goes all the way through. The part makes sense, and then yeah, let's go from there. And then once again, I do not know, based on this document, the distance that this is from our cutout. So we're gonna go back to this part in a second here. Anyway, sketch here, and then I'm gonna work from let's work from the right here. So we had a circle here somewhere, so I just took the circle tool, drop that down. Let's go over here, square slots. Let's find those holes. Okay, so they're separated, so we'll do the TX2 holes first. Interesting setup. Alright. Yeah, so to make that easier on myself, I'm gonna go over here in the evaluate tab, and I'm gonna use the measuring tool just to figure out where these guys are. So from here to here, and I'm gonna change this to go to the center of the circle, because when I'm actually dimensioning it back in the other part, it's gonna sketch from the center of the circle to the line. All right, so that has a vertical distance of 7 from my top line of the wire slot there, and then these guys, I think I have this information on the document, but those have a distance of 42 between each other there. So that's simple enough. And then we would need a line in the middle. Actually, let's see. Access it. Yep, perfect. So the center line there to here, that vertical distance, that makes sense, is 21. All right. So reason why I needed that center line distance is because I'm going to be mirroring. So it's easy to take a center line and then just figure out the distance from that circle to the center. So now I'm gonna hover over this line here. I'm gonna find the center point or the midpoint. I'm gonna make a line right there. All right, so first things first, I found that the distance of this to the center of my circle should be 7 millimeters. And then also this screw has a diameter of 3.3. Wrong thing, so let's go ahead and change that. This is gonna be 3.3. And then the distance from here to the center of the circle should be 21. All right. So once again, I'm just taking half of this and I'm gonna mirror it over. So I got the top screw. I'm just gonna double check that the screws on the bottom are the exact same. So that's 3.3, same exact distance of 7 vertical height. And then these are also similar distance, right? Because these top ones have a distance of, okay, click, control, that's why, here we go. Center distance 42, circle, 42. Okay, so they're the same, so I can also take advantage of that. So I can do a bunch of mirroring here. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that now. So mirror entities, I'm gonna make another center line here. I wanna find the middle of the line I already made. And then I can make a line right there. It's okay that the line isn't all the way across, you just need something of reference. Mirror entities, and then because I know the other holes have the same positioning, or I want them to have the same positioning, all I'm gonna do is just flip everything. So click this circle, I wanna mirror it about that line because I want that hole to be over here. Boom, hit the check mark, and now it also mirrored the center line, so cool. And then I want to mirror these two about this line because I know those holes have the same dimensions as the ones up top. So boom, those 4 holes are done. I don't have to take the time of dimensioning each one, but we're not done yet. We still have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then all the other guys we'll get to later. All right, so let's double tap the document here. So it tells me there's 4 holes that have a diameter of 2.75. So that has to be each of these that are common. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. we're gonna go ahead and grab that. Drop a circle over here. Dimension that to 2.75, like so. Head back to my document here. See if I have information. So on the left-hand side here, I'm told that those holes or circles should have a distance of 58 millimeters between them. But now, same thing I did last time, I'm gonna go back into the part for access. All right, so those are called Xavier for some reason. And then, yeah, once again, we're not gonna use that. We're gonna go to evaluate measure tool. And then we're gonna take this. Oh, okay, hold on. These we're not gonna be able to mirror because this one is slightly offset. Or am I bugging? Nah, those are vertical, right? Yeah, those are vertical. All right, cool. Never mind. So from here to here, I want the center distance that has a horizontal distance of 8 millimeters. And then let's see, how far is it from here? It has a distance of 30 from that. So now I have the information I need. Back to my part. I sketch from the center to here. I need that to be 30. And then this horizontal distance, I need that to be 8. And then I already know that the other parts are pretty much symmetrical. Let's see. Here, let's see, it would make sense to mirror this over. And then we know these guys have a distance of 58, so yeah, we got options. All right, let's go back here. So for this, I'm just gonna go ahead and sketch this again. Make this 2.75. Give that a distance of 58. Make sure it's 8 away. And then boom, that's good there. And now that same center line I can use as my reference because everything is with respect to that cutout. So mirror entities, select these circles, and then I can mirror about those 2 circles there. And then while I'm at it, I'm just gonna cut these out now instead of sketching. I can sketch every single circle and cut it out, but you have many options when it comes to CAD. So features, extrude to cut through all, and then all of those holes are selected. So boom, and then that's that there. All right, and then how confident do you guys feel so far? Because to be honest, like, this is gonna be on recording. I don't want to cut out all the holes, but if you guys feel like it would help you if I go into more detail, like covering all the holes, yeah. Because I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You just want to know where you want the hole, and then you get your dimensions, and you go from there. But yeah, this, like, CAD isn't really complicated. Like, yes, it's gonna take time and practice to like get good and know all the tricks and whatnot, but once you know what you need to make and you kind of know how to go about it, it's not too bad. But yeah, any questions, comments, concerns?
From the video side that you were like showing us what is the purpose of like those big lines?
Say that one more time. I know you're talking about this part, but
The big lines, the big cuts.
right here,
Lines, like,
these.
that's just the way like what is the purpose of having that whole?
That whole, okay.
But it depends like on how we design like the car and the circuits and then.
Yeah, so here in this part, it's called a wire slot. So I'm not sure if you're gonna have like a component go in there, or if you're just gonna have a bunch of wires feeding through. That would make the most sense. I don't have a picture of how the car would actually look, but once again, like, this workshop is just kind of like an example. It's not necessarily showing you what you need to make, I believe. But like that's just an example. So let's say you have like a battery or something here. You need to make sure you have some space for wires to feed through. So depending on how you make your plate, you might not necessarily need this massive cutout for all the wires. Yeah.
What was the tool you used to make the cuts?
The tool I used to make the cuts. I got you. Let me just sketch this real quick. Onto here, boom, boom. So in features, boss base is how you create. If you go to the right, there's a tool called extruded cut. That's all you need. You select that, and then if you have a closed body that you just sketch, it'll automatically select it for you. But if it's not selected, you go over here in the contours, select it, and then you can basically tell it what you want to do. If I only wanted to cut like a millimeter into the part, I can do that. And that's how I cut, and then I have a little divot right there. So let's say I wanted the part to have something sitting there, I could do that. But yeah, it's literally just called extruded cut tool, basically. Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? No? Okay. But yeah, I'm not sure like what information do you guys have, or is it kind of just like free will for the plate?
I'm just in the research thing.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't
I
really
got
know
you.
what I'm doing.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah.
For the competition,
Uh-huh.
they just said that it needs to go probably in the sensor for the LiDAR sensor,
Right.
and for like microprocessor, like strong enough to like
Mhm.
powerful enough to run the computations. So I remember I talked to Israel, and he said like the car that they have, I think, goes like 18 miles per hour. So maybe it's still extremely enough to not obviously not 18 miles per hour, but like,
Right.
go fast.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
as fast as possible.
Okay. Cool.
I'm
And
not sure.
I got you. And then you guys already have, I'm assuming, like the sensors, the controllers you need to put on top of this plate.
Yeah, so
Okay. I'm only asking because like it would be easy if you had dimensions and then you go make the CAD.
and for example the suspension,
Mm-hmm.
like it would be good to like know the measurement of the suspensions to like know how wide to make the base.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I'm not even a part of like the project, so I don't know too much about it. But yeah, it could be. But yeah, for anyone watching the recording later on, that's pretty much it. Straightforward. Um, if you have questions, I might join the Discord. So keep up the good work.